You know that feeling when you look at the calendar and get that tiny, terrifying shock? It's already December. The decorations are going up in the stores, but you swear you literally just took them down. Or maybe it's your birthday, again. The strange part isn't just that time passed. I mean, we all know how a clock works, right? The really weird part is that it feels like it just vanished without a trace. Think back to when you were a kid. A single summer felt like a whole lifetime. July felt like an entire era. But now, an entire year can just slip right through your fingers, basically disappearing between two software updates on your phone. Well, welcome to this explainer where we're going to unpack exactly why this massive time compression happens, what is actually going on inside your brain, and, most importantly, how you can flip the script and change it.
So we really have to ask ourselves, how did we get here? How is it already December? Well, the truth is, if life feels like it's speeding up on you, you aren't imagining things. You aren't going crazy. But the reason isn't hidden in the clock on the wall. It's actually hidden right there in your memory. I mean, think about it for a second. The physical clock gave a 5-year-old and a 50-year-old the exact same number of days. The sun rose and set 365 times for both of them. The clock didn't change at all. But your brain's perception of those days, that fundamentally shifted. Let's act like detectives for a minute and figure out why your mind is playing this massive trick on you.
Okay, the best way to understand this is to realize your brain actually has two clocks. One lives on the wall, and one lives in your memory. The wall clock, it's clean, it's objective, it's mathematical. It measures exact seconds, hours, and days. But your memory clock, oh, it is incredibly messy. See, your brain is not a continuous security camera, just passively recording every single thing in front of it. It's way more like a highly selective, ruthless film editor. The calendar counts the days, sure, but your brain, it only counts the edited events. And that editor is constantly deciding what makes the final cut to be saved and what just ends up dumped on the cutting room floor. Picture this. You're sitting in a horribly boring meeting. In the present moment, as you are literally sitting there staring at the clock, listening to someone drone on and on about Q3 projections, it feels like an absolute eternity. You feel every single second ticking by. But what happens in remembered time when you look back at that exact same meeting a week later? Poof, it has completely vanished from your memory. Present time felt agonizingly long, but remembered time recorded absolutely nothing.
And this creates a fascinating paradox about how we experience our lives. Boredom stretches the present, but it violently shrinks the past. When we don't have engaging events going on, we turn our attention to time itself. We sit there, we watch the clock, and that makes time totally drag in the moment. But because absolutely nothing meaningful happened to update your brain's model of the world, your memory didn't create any landmarks. The brain just discards that whole hour because it offered zero new, useful data for your survival or growth. So the bored hour felt incredibly long while you were trapped in it, but it occupies literally zero space in your remembered life.
Now, take a second and think about your own early years. Why did childhood summers feel endless? Remember when July stretched on forever, packed with days of playing outside, going to the pool, building forts? This actually brings us to our very first major clue. Childhood wasn't magically slower because the physical clock was kinder to us. Childhood was slower because your memory was incredibly dense. You simply hadn't yet learned what to ignore in the world. When looking at the research for this explainer, this is the part that really blew my mind. Novelty is memory glue. When you're a child, your life is just absolutely packed with firsts. The first time riding a bike without training wheels, the first day at a new school, the first really big thunderstorm that shakes the house, the first time tasting a lemon. Because these experiences are completely new, your brain cannot predict them. It is literally forced to snap to attention and capture rich, highly detailed memories. Your mental shelf gets packed with bright, heavy, colorful boxes. But look at how this changes as we grow up. The sheer weight of an adult routine sets in. Monday rolls around, it's the exact same commute. Wednesday, answering the exact same endless emails. Friday, eating the exact same meals. Sunday, staring at the exact same screens. We build these mental templates, or schemas, for how our world works. A new day leaves fresh footprints, but a repeated day, it just leaves tire tracks on the exact same road. Your brain runs on autopilot because it already knows precisely what is going to happen next. So your brain essentially acts like a compression algorithm on your computer. When you experience a week or a whole month of repeated, highly predictable days, your brain doesn't waste precious biological energy saving a new, distinct file for every single day. No way. It highlights all those identical days and bundles them up into one tiny file. It zips them. Routine is absolutely fantastic for getting through a busy, stressful week, don't get me wrong. But your memory hates routine. Routine gives your memory absolutely nothing to hold on to, so it just compresses the whole month into a tiny little dot.
But what is actually happening inside our heads to cause this compression? Well, let's talk about a really cool neurological process called event segmentation. See, life doesn't arrive in neatly packaged chapters. It flows as a continuous, unbroken stream. Your brain, specifically utilizing deep structures like the hippocampus, which is critical for learning and memory, has to act as that film editor we talked about earlier. It constantly decides when one event ends and another begins. It's chopping your continuous reality into distinct, meaningful, and stored scenes. So what actually forces your brain to yell action and start recording a new clip? It's when your predictions fail. It's things like entering a completely new environment, hearing surprising news, a sudden shift in your daily plans, or maybe bumping into an old friend unexpectedly. A surprise tells your brain, wait a minute, the model I have of the world is wrong right now. I need to update it. And that friction forces the encoding of a fresh, brand new memory. The problem is, as we get older, we simply get way too good at predicting our days. Recent fMRI research, where adults watched films, showed that age-related changes occur in exactly how our brains respond to these event boundaries. As we age and our routines solidify into stone, these internal scene cuts happen less and less frequently. And the math here is simple, but it's brutal. Fewer scene cuts equals a drastically shorter remembered movie of your year. Now, you have probably heard of the famous proportional theory of time. To a 5-year-old, one single year makes up a massive 20% of their entire existence on Earth. That's a huge chunk. But to a 50-year-old, that exact same year is just 2% of their life. So subjectively, mathematically, the year feels like a rapidly shrinking fraction of the life you've already lived. But here is the thing about that. The fraction theory is not wrong. It's just incomplete. Math alone doesn't explain the whole picture. Because think about a 50-year-old who quits their job, moves to a new country, starts a totally new career, and learns a new language. They will tell you that that year felt absolutely massive. It was full of sensory overload, daily challenges, and constant scene cuts. On the flip side, a 16-year-old stuck in a repetitive, unchallenging loop of scrolling on screens and walking the exact same school hallways can feel like their entire year vanished without a trace. Memory density matters far more than the mathematical fraction.
And this actually answers another huge mystery that I am absolutely sure you've experienced: the Christmas again effect. You know that exact feeling. You're pulling out the holiday decorations, untangling the lights, and it feels like you literally just packed them away in the attic yesterday. Annual rituals, birthdays, holidays, tax season, they all start to speed up and fly by in a blur as we get older. So why does this happen so reliably? Because annual rituals act like measuring sticks. If the gap between last Christmas and this Christmas was filled with absolutely nothing but that compressed routine zip file, the exact same commute, the exact same emails, the exact same screens, your brain has no meaningful landmarks in between. There is zero distinct data separating the two events. So when your brain looks back, it has no choice but to stack those two holidays uncomfortably right on top of each other in your mind. Which brings us to a massive, invisible trap of the modern era. Busy time is not the same as full time. You can be incredibly busy for 12 hours a day, answering rapid-fire messages, running a dozen errands, and scrolling endlessly on your phone. The modern smartphone gives us thousands of tiny, fleeting hits of stimulation, making us feel incredibly busy. We might spend hours doom scrolling on TikTok or Instagram, but because that content is shallow, context-free, and highly repetitive, it provides zero distinct memories. Your brain shreds it. The hours completely vanish, leaving the memory file totally empty. So how do we fight back? How do we actually slow time down in our memory? Look, we obviously cannot stop the wall clock. That is impossible. But as we've learned today, the wall clock isn't the one making your life feel short. The memory clock is. And we can absolutely trick the memory clock. We have the very real power to artificially inject event boundaries right into the middle of our weeks. Let's dive into exactly how to do this YouTube style. You need to purposefully create memory landmarks. And the good news is, you don't need to quit your job and travel the world to do it. Just change one small part of your routine. Take a completely different route to work tomorrow. You might notice a weird old building or a strange tree you've never seen, and suddenly, boom, that entirely anchors your Tuesday in your memory. Give yourself a weekly first. Cook a wildly different recipe, visit a new neighborhood, or have a completely different kind of conversation. And put pure, phone-free attention into ordinary, everyday moments. If you want the actual step-by-step formula for uncompressing your life, it is right here. Number 1, break your expected schema. Do something your brain cannot perfectly predict. Number 2, pay active, mindful attention while doing it, because attention is literally the only thing that tells the brain to hit the record button. And number 3, create a retrieval cue.
A quick journal entry, a saved movie ticket, or even just having a conversation about the event with a friend. Give yourself something that acts as a handle to open that specific memory drawer later on. Now, a very quick note on that retrieval cue. Taking a photo is a great idea, but you have to use your phone like a bookmark, not a substitute. Taking one deliberate, mindful photo acts as a fantastic retrieval cue to anchor a memory of a great afternoon. But if you're at a concert, experiencing the entire show through your screen, automatically snapping 50 photos without ever looking up, your camera is stealing the very attention your brain actually needs to form the memory in the first place. The truly crucial point to take away from all of this is that children are handed chapters. When you're young, society gives you chapters on a silver platter. First grade, second grade, summer break, new teacher, new subjects. But adults? Adults have to actively create their own chapters. If you don't manually place chapter markers in your adult life through new projects, deliberate changes in routine, or heavily focused attention, the whole year just blurs into one long, completely forgettable run-on sentence.
So, next time you look at the calendar and wonder where the heck the year went, don't just blame the physical clock. Ask what your brain actually had to save. Time isn't just what passes. Time is what your brain keeps. So my question to you is, what are you going to do tomorrow to force your brain to hit record? Go out there this week, break a routine, create a landmark, and make your next year completely uncompressible.